Count me out, gon' say whatever you want. Go, yeah. But you know we gotta keep the thing going. You know it, you know it. We be on the road. Everybody know we going alright. We be on the road. Everybody know. Now tell me you know it. You know it, know it.
Did we just pass them?
Yeah, we passed one.
Yeah.
That was the Japanese home on G. The city also is one big square. Hopefully you can't get lost.
Yeah.
This is the first assembly coming out.
You said 13 different denominations.
Right.
Okay.
And the churches aren't full. Trust me.
You said they're not full?
No.
How they keeping the lights on?
Whoever shows up.
They go to Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Police station, you don't want to go there. This is another one.
Ah, okay.
This is a Catholic church, a Union church. We have a Seventh-day Adventist on top of the hill. 2 Hawaiian churches.
What
Baptist church.
Hawaiian churches? What is do they teach? Is it Christian Hawaiian or
Yeah.
traditional?
No. There's one traditional and one Christian.
Okay.
Now this is a city square. Don't get in trouble with the cops because that's our jail. You see those 2 doors right there? Yeah, locked up in there. Yeah, so this is a city square. Yeah, that's the left side or right side, or right side, left side. There's a couple of general stores, mom and pop general stores. Pick up your beer, canned goods, whatever.
Oh, where's that? Where did you?
That's the green one right here.
The green one. Oh, okay.
That's Pele's Bistro.
Okay.
She has a bar in the back. She opens at night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is one of the general stores. The red building is a Pacific Rim Cuisine Filipino restaurant.
Okay.
Then you have a souvenir shop. And then the other mom and pop's general store owned by the guy who owns the island. It's called Richard's Market.
Oh.
This is our elementary and high school put together. Community gym. I don't think the weight room is open yet. But they do play ball at night.
Oh, okay. I should have brought my shoes.
There you go.
So are there any
What?
are there any black people that live here?
There's a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That live here?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot that works for the Four Seasons.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a lot of turnaround always.
So it's not military then, they work in the hospitality industry, the hotels or whatever.
No. Military. What, you guess military?
No.
Oh,
Well, I'm just asking
oh.
because on the other we live on Oahu.
Right.
Yeah, so we're just trying to find out. You said there's a lot of black people here, so I'm assuming that they're not military here.
Now, when I say a lot, it's a lot more than when it used to be. When I was growing up, it was like 1.
Yeah.
So I think you can count over 10.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Out
Compared
of
to
2,800 people.
Exactly.
So yeah, the Heritage Building is right inside right here. So this is the center of town, yeah.
Okay.
So the hospital's right there. Hopefully you guys won't need to use it. We have one gas station, like I said, and they also sell beer and some foods. And that's where this flag pole is.
How about Hispanic? Any Hispanic community here too?
There's a lot.
A lot too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, 10 or more?
I would say more.
More, okay. Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. It's your brothers with IUIC Hawaii. All right, we are on our 6th and final island of the chain of islands that is Hawaii. All right, this is the island of Lanai. It is the fewest people. All right, there's only about 3,000, maybe a little over 3,000 people that live on this particular island. And believe you me, you can feel that when we got here. All right, it's got a very small town vibe. I mean, we saw, we did see a couple of Jakes here. Most of them are married to Esau. They have interracial marriages, but one in particular just offered us his car. All right, so that's that small town vibe that you get when you're on this island. So Lord's will be able to share the gospel. We, was able to speak with one brother very, very briefly, right? Because they're surrounded by the other nations, right? So Lord's will, we can spread this truth, spread this gospel as we're out here, locate more of our brothers and sisters that are here on the island. Remember, this is the island that is 98% owned by the billionaire Larry Ellison of Oracle. So, he's got his hands in everything here. So we're going to be searching far and wide, high and low for our people here on the island. And Lord's will be able to dig up some information, not only about our people, but anything we can find as far as the Puerto Ricans that have been in the islands of Hawaii since 1900, right? 1901. There's been so-called African Americans or Southern Kingdom that's been here since the late 1800s. So we do have a presence in these islands. So we're here to find out if there's more information here on the island of Lanai, and we'll be doing that over the next few days. So the Lord's will bring some information back to you for you to learn, as well as we learn here on the islands of Hawaii. All right, with that, say shalom.
We be on the road, can't stop the work till we make the living waters flood the whole earth. If you ain't trying to be a part of, you can kick the dirt. You got faith without work, show me what it's worth. In tribulations and trepidations, we found it home. He sent the angels, they keep us cool in the heat is on. So while the heathen competing to take the Iron Throne, he'll come and tread upon their land like a firestone. Count me out, go and say whatever you want. Oh yeah, but you know we gotta keep the thing going. You know it, we be on the road. Everybody know we going alright. Yeah, we on the road. Everybody know. Now tell me you know it.
As a result of a significant decline in the native population following Western contact in 1778, right, 170 years prior to the land division, only 12 native families were recorded as living in Palawai, Ahupua'a at the time of the land division. So essentially, from 1778, remember we're talking about the information that we got when we were on the island of, I think we was on Kauai at that point, where we saw Captain Cook's ships. Now this is Western contact. Captain Cook's ships arriving into that bay. It says here that within basically 70 years of contact with them, there was only 12 native families recorded. Right, 12 native families. All right. Here's something of note. If you look in here at this photograph, this is an old photograph. All right, it says the last thatch house on Lanai in 1907. It was once the home of Kahi Kanaka and his wife Hakavai and their granddaughter with their husband Joseph, right? But what I want you to zoom in on this really quick, and I want you to take note of the hue of the native Hawaiians, and then you see a few of these Edomites in this photo as well. All right. Now we're talking about the early 1900s. And you see Esau has his hands not as slaves, but as members of the community. Not as slaves, but as members of the community in which they made, or not made, but they contracted, I should say, to work the locals, right, to work their businesses, so on and so forth. They married in to the royal families. And today, the majority of them have taken full ownership through rights, grants, and financial transactions, business dealings. It's kind of the same theme we've seen on all the islands. All right. They allowed Christianity in, The Christians maneuvered to take the land. It's been a recurring theme on all the islands.
First Christian ministries. Kamwali dies and heirs attempt rebellion from Kamehameha Kingdom. Whaling industry, that's where we arise. 1850, Chinese labor arise. Rice supplants taro as a crop. Sugar industry starts 1860. Waimea Wharf built 1870-71. Hawaii achieves reciprocity with the United States. What does that mean? That means something was paid back? What does that mean? Reciprocity? Portuguese labor arrives. German, English, and Scottish and Norwegian labor arrives. They weren't in the damn fields. Japanese labor arrives in 76, 85, whatever. 1890, between 1885 and 1940, most of the businesses in the Waimea had Chinese proprietors. Japanese become strong business influence. Puerto Rican and Filipino labor arrives, 1905. That's a little bit off. There's more around here. The rapid growth of rice and sugar markets created the town's boom period. New bridge across. Oh, there's a whole big blank slate right here. What the hell is that? Then it goes into World War II and all that type of stuff. Alright, so here we have the Palawai experiment of the Mormons on Lanai. This is going to explain the intentions of the Mormon church here on the islands of Hawaii. Right? It says on December 12, 1850, Mormon missionaries landed at Honolulu, Oahu, their goal being to teach the gospel of the Latter-day Saints to natives of the Hawaiian Islands. Initially, their plan, keyword plan, was to convert Hawaiians and have them relocate to Utah. So I want you to keep that in mind. They was to convert them and have them relocate to Utah, where they would congregate under Brigham Young in a great gathering. During this time, the native population of the Hawaiian Kingdom was in steady decline, which we read earlier. As a result, laws were enacted forbidding the immigration of natives from Hawaii. So the Kingdom of Hawaii, in charge of their own people, said, nah, we can't afford to lose any more of our people, so no Hawaiians is allowed to leave. Right? So the Mormon elders were forced to find a location for their work, meaning plan, experiment, for their work in the island kingdom. In 1853, the island of Lanai came to the attention of the elders. These are the Mormon elders. Lanai was isolated and the population small, as we just read over there, so as to permit the native saints to worship and live without external influences. These external influences mean from the kingdom, right? So that way there wouldn't be much influence or enforcement of the Hawaiian Kingdom's laws in a place so isolated and with such a small population. Now peep this. On November 2nd, 1853, the elders reported back to Brigham Young in Utah that they found the place well adapted in many respects for this purpose being the experiment. The soil being good, the situation a central one, and having ready intercourse with the two principal markets, meaning Honolulu and Lahaina, which was the place of many plantations, right? So this is a business aspect, right? And sufficiently isolated to be comparatively free from the surrounding evil influences, meaning so that they would not be influenced by their governing body, the kingdom, right? So these are the things that we can see here, and it's placed here. It's not hidden. It's not hidden. So the Mormons came here to provide an experiment to remove the Hawaiians here so that way they can conduct business. And when it didn't go their way because the kingdom enacted a law saying we're not going to move any more Hawaiians off the island, they had to use more of their religious aspect to convert the minds of the Hawaiians so they can conduct their business. And now when you look around, Hawaii is all white man's business. At the top tier of the business market, the white man conducting all his business. So this experiment in 1850, even though it was done by the Mormons, was actually enacted by all branches of Christianity. And here today, we see the white man has bought through business dealings all the islands for the most part.
We be on the road, can't stop the work till we make the living waters flood the whole earth. If you ain't trying to be a party, you can kick the dirt. You got faith without work, show me what it's worth. In tribulations and trepidations, we found own it home. He send the angels, they keep us cool in the heated zone. So while the heathen competing to take the Iron Throne, he'll come and tread upon their land like a firestone.
Count me out, go and say whatever you want. Oh, yeah. But you know we gotta keep the thing going. You know it, you know it. We be on the road.
All right. So we just went ahead. We just learned about how the Palawai experiment of the Mormons, its true intent, right? And it says it right here, just so we're clear. It says Gibson's creative approach to practicing the Mormon faith and economics, let me say that again, and economics led to criticism and alarm. Well, yeah, they might have criticized and alarmed it, but what we're showing you is that the Christian church's main objective was to come into the land. It's used as the first approach of coming into a territory or a land and then gaining control of it. And right, this, now remember the thing that we just went over, the information we just went over was around the mid 1860s. So now here we go on this death in 1888. This guy whose main function was religion and economics, right? By the time of his death in 1888, he, meaning Gibson, controlled a majority of the island's land assets through fee simple or leasehold title, right? He gained title. Don't forget, prior to this, land was awarded. We went through that history as well. Land had been awarded to a chiefess, a royal family initially. Meaning what? At some point, that land was sold or there was a marriage in which now Esau has gained control of the island. Now, by the time of this man Gibson's death in 1888, he now controls most of the assets, the land assets of the island. Now, come in the name that most of us are familiar with, James Dole. All right, James Dole, Hawaiian Pineapple Company. Right, Lanai becomes the world's largest pineapple plantation, 1922 to 1992. All right, so that's quite a long stint there. That's at 70 years of the world's pineapples being grown and exported. Right, economics. That was the main purpose of Gibson. Right, now it's turned into a full-fledged multinational company under James Dole. Catch this first line. In August of 1922, James Dole, president of the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, purchased the island of Lanai for $1.1 million. Let me say that again. In 1922, James Dole purchased the entire island of Lanai for $1.1 million. What are we showing you? That the island of Lanai has always been under individual control since the 1920s. Excuse me, since the late 1800s. All right. What's going on now with Larry Ellison and Oracle and this billionaire now maintaining control of the island is nothing new, right? The people, the Hawaiian people, the local people of the islands, right? A lot of Filipinos are here, right? They already have been accustomed to working on the plantations. How do we know? Because Dole Pineapple Company is world known. 70 years. All right, 70 years.
We've been on the road for the longest. Fighters have hoes, birds on this. Why you asking me about your stupid little money? I don't know your money. Oh yeah. Do you believe it? Do you believe in me? If you believe, then leave and go feed the sheep. Take it from me if you just believe. You can move mountains far away. So go, oh yeah, go, oh yeah, go, oh yeah. Go.
Taino, Boricua, what do you say? Taino, Boricua. Boricua de pura cepa, like they say over there. Yeah. There's a lot of history that's, obviously not taught to us. No, I didn't know about the history of the regions in Hawaii, though. I mean, I know only the pineapple fields worked it, but I was telling him, like, yeah, we've worked with the Japanese and Chinese. No, you didn't, right? Yeah. But we actually just came from the library Because we were trying to find out about it here on this island, because we know about it on Oahu. So we were trying to find out, like, if there's any of that. Do you know of anything like that?
No, they don't talk about nothing about that, man. Nothing at all. I mean, like 80% of the island over here is Filipino nations.
Right.
I mean, I think I'm the only Puerto Rican, unless it's somewhere else, somebody
Well,
else.
we make Guillermo.
Go yeah, go yeah, go yeah. My people gone to slavery, 5,000 miles away from me. Lost and confused, I'm sending you to go and stand for me. Go. So we going all around the world. So we going all around the world.
Day 2 of our trip to Lanai, we found many tribes here. One of the things that there's a common denominator amongst all the brothers that we found here is that that grasping at the other nations and to feel their pain and to empathize and sympathize with their issues that they've presented to them for all these years or whatever amount of time that they've been here. We met a brother here. He hasn't been here for long, but he has created an affinity with the people that he works with. Instead of talking with the brothers and sisters that work in the back or work outside, he'll prefer to speak with the Edomites that speak his language. He'll prefer to get involved with the Edomites or the Filipinos that live amongst him instead of his own brethren. He'll see them as different. Even regarding us, there was like a level of distinction. He's like, he wanted to separate just a little bit from us as opposed to the other people that were there, mainly heathens, primarily heathens. And we noticed that common denominator amongst everybody that we found here. We've met a brother that seemed very excited to see us. Then his wife pulled up, and all of a sudden it becomes very awkward. This constant interaction, this constant defense, as we call it, when the heathen come up and they present themselves, hey, how you doing? I'm the wife, I'm the husband. When the heathens come up and do that, it creates a separation between you and your people. And we've seen this over and over and over and over again. And what it does is, over time, it makes you separate from your people just naturally. Well, I don't want to go over there because I don't want it to be uncomfortable. I don't want to go over there because I don't want my spouse or my friend to feel uncomfortable as I bond with my own people. Right? So these are the things that we find whenever we travel. Even on Oahu, we still find these same things. Right? So what is it that we've discovered here? We've discovered that our people are here. We discovered that our people tend to repeat the things that the other nations have repeated to them. For example, when we talk about the bondage that the Puerto Rican woman was in here, they say, oh yeah, just like the Korean man, just like the Japanese man, just like the Filipino man. When we say, well, the Spaniards conquered the Puerto Ricans, they say, oh yeah, they did that to the Filipinos as well. We always find a way to minimize our history and maximize the other history of the other nations. Right? So this is something that comes from, can you give me Psalms 106 and verse 35? I know we read it a bunch of times, but it's very important when we see it to see the scriptures in those things. Right? So what we want to do is we want to capture the actual events as they happen. That's what we're here to do. We're here to show. We're here to pull out the social constructs that have been built around our people because of the other nations. Go ahead and read that for me.
Psalms chapter 106 and verse 35. But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils.
Right. So this being here, when you mingle yourself among the heathen, right, you learn. You have no choice but to learn their works because your history is destroyed. Their history is intact. That's the difference between being cursed in the field and just being in the field. The other nations were in the fields, right? But they weren't cursed in the fields. While they were in the fields, they were allowed to make shrines to their gods. They were allowed to retain their history. But when we came out those fields, it was a done deal. And today we are the living embodiment of that tabula rasa, if you will, that empty shell of a nation that we are today. And we cling to the other nations in order to, feel something, in order to kind of, catch the residual glory of the other nations. These are the things that we deal with here on many of the islands, but it's very prevalent on the other islands outside of Oahu. So this is something that we're here to extract from our trip here as we plant the seeds, and hopefully we're able to gather these brothers and sisters and plant that seed so they can gain knowledge of self, and so that they can see their history in the scriptures and realize that they are the Israelites. Hey, shalom, brethren. One of the things that we want to bring to light when we're on these islands, it's almost like a spy mission, right? Especially in small towns like this, very, very tight-knit communities with our people embedded in them. What they often do is, if you present too swiftly or too harshly what's going on with our people, or the questions are too blunt, everybody clams up and they're like, oh, time to go, I gotta go inside. So as we're out here, you have to be very surgical, right? You have to be very surgical. You have to gain the attention of the people, gain the trust of the people, so that way y'all can have that real conversation. Right, so a lot of times we're not able to go in uniform to all these places, to community centers and stuff, because it brings too much attention to the small community, and then everybody starts to clam up. Everybody starts to say, hey, stay away from those guys. So we have to really look like tourists to come out here and really present that we're not tourists after a while. So once we let people know that we're from the Hawaiian Islands and we live here just like you, they start to let their guard down, and then you can produce the real questions, then you can produce the real conversation. But it's a very surgical operation. We've been learning this repeatedly from going throughout the islands, and we kind of got it down to a science now. So stay tuned. We're trying to get some good footage and some good interviews and some good critiques for y'all, so we can spread the gospel and plant these seeds as we need to.
Yeah. And again, they were inside, but they were outside, right? And again, you balance that and you understand that, and you embrace where you're at. And again, I've always had no problem. You have your disagreements with people, but for the most part, I feel like I'm a part of this community.
Sure. And I think one of the reasons, and I know you probably have a question too, being in Hawaii, it's important to, like you said, not to just roll up and act like you know everything. So we're not shy to ask the questions. You know what I mean? We go to people and ask the questions about culture, about things. We ask even hard questions. A lot of times people get shy away from. That's why I'm asking you, how do you balance it? And because that's not necessarily easy. We've spoken to people, whether it be on Oahu or Kauai, and it's like, there's always that barrier of what you said, we're inside but we're outside.
Right.
So, that thing is real on all of the islands in some fashion,
I think us in America has always been inside and out, right? Meaning, so this is nothing not new to us, right? We kind of understand that. But again, are you guys familiar with the Popola Project?
Yes.
Okay. And then I can't think of her name. She just wrote a book. She's a professor at Northwestern in Chicago. If you don't know that book, get that book, because again, like you guys are looking at kind of talking.
Is it something about Blue Waters?
My Haven or something like that.
Okay, maybe.
What's his name is on it? The brother that's from Maui. The local brother that was Maui, that was adopted from Mississippi. Y'all know, here goes. This motherfucker, when he was little, I used to follow him. He was a falsetto performer. He's right there. He performs all the time in this brother can speak fluent Hawaiian, right?
He's got a Hispanic name?
Fernandez.
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember him when he was little. I think he might have been 10 or 12 or something, and he was winning all these competitions on Hawaii. So I follow him now. I follow him on Facebook, and we communicate every once in a while. But again, I mean, that's black excellence in its finest.
Salt of the earth.
I'm just like, man, dude, you can speak it, you can play it, you can sing it, and
he's from Maui.
Yeah, he's from Maui, and I can't think of who's the lady that's the head of the Popola Project.
Okay, so she contacted us, I'm going to say 2 years ago, right before the pandemic.
Okay, well, we dealt with the African Americans on Maui Association, which is kind of all linked together as well. So we know the vice president. We've actually sat down with her, Dr. Sheehan, I think his name. Sandra Sheehan. We've actually sat down with her and talked with her too.
Yeah, I think the girls applied for a scholarship through them at one point in time. I mean,
It's kind of been broken up.
Yeah.
It kind of fell apart a little bit.
And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Why we are not as tight as we should be here in Hawaii.
Sure.
We were talking about Maui.
Yeah.
We were talking about a specific brother that because of the lack of community that he had, he faced tragedy, right?
Yes.
So you heard of it?
Yes. He lived in an upcountry.
Yes.
Yes.
Haiku.
I did.
Haiku.
Yes, I did read this story, and it was something about he was living in an Ohana unit, or I remember reading it, but I don't know much. I didn't know much about it.
So we went to Maui, and we talked to the brothers just like we talking to you. No one knows on Maui. No one knows.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy where he was upcountry. I think he was renting or living in an Ohana.
He was being subleased.
Yeah,
Being subleased.
on a Ohana unit or something. Something went down, and kind of swept under the carpet.
He was lynched. All right, he was lynched, but because of the lack of community, they said no foul play. Now I know the story because I spoke with his family.
Okay.
In Seattle, so I know the tidbits behind it. But essentially, he was effectively ostracized in the community because of a complaint that he had for the hell that he was catching.
Right.
Right, at the workplace and things like that, and he went the legal route and won. So he was justified in his complaint.
Right.
But now the community said we still don't like that. We still don't like that.
Wow.
So now we're going
I'd
to
love to read
converge on you and force you out. And when he began to get his complaints, he wound up missing, and then returned on his front porch hanging. All right. So now when we hear that,
Okay.
foul play. When it's pushed out, no foul play. So these are the things when we hear stories such as, well, in the beginning, it was tough. You're kind of in, but you're kind of out.
And again, they were inside, but they were outside, right? And again, you balance that and you understand that and you embrace where you're at. And again, right.
We hear those type of things and we piece together, right, the things that each brother is saying on each different place. Now, there seems to be an inkling of, we know what it is, right? But it's not really Mississippi.
Right.
It's not really Georgia, right? So that paints a picture of you can band-aid the incident, right? And Hawaii will help you band-aid that incident. For example, the trauma that this brother was experiencing was not even uncommon on that island. Now, the lynching part was uncommon, as far as we know, and that was band-aided up too, to the point where we've heard about that, but the people on the island, people on Maui haven't. So as a community, nothing gets done. As a community, as a people, as a culture, nothing gets accomplished. Even on Oahu, no one's heard of it, right? On Kauai, no one's heard of it, right? No one's heard of this, right? But this is a big deal historically for us. So even when we come to a place where we like to label and like to, just, hey, this is paradise, our people got lynched.
Oh, here goes. When I see these stories on the news about this is the melting pot, here in Hawaii, there's plenty different races, but if you look inside that, there's a pecking order of the power structure in Hawaii.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, all you got to do is read, look, you can see there's stratas of power, and depend on when you came here, how much power you have. Meaning, if you look at the power structure, you see it.
Now, I just want to go on that. When do you believe black people came here?
Sure.
Because what you said is absolutely correct, but it goes in line with understanding where we fit in, right? So when would you say black people
Oh,
came?
long time ago. I mean, there's been spatters of black people coming to Hawaii that I've read
Since
way back.
Just
Way
give me
back.
bare ballpark.
Because matter of fact, good friend of mine, Hawaiian guy, was telling me about what's the hotel? Is it the Pink Hotel?
Royal Hawaiian
Yes.
in Waikiki.
Yeah, there were some connections to black folks coming, being a part of that in a big way. But I don't know specifically.
Well, but I think that's a big part of it. I think that's a big part of everything that we're talking about. And you brought it out perfectly when you said there's a social power structure in Hawaii that people say is dependent on when you arrive to the island. But when we got here, no one really knows when we got here. But we've been coming here since the days of Kamehameha the First.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've read spatterings, but I don't know specific individuals in time.
No, that's fine.
But I know we have been
a part of the whole building, the building blocks
of Hawaii, right?
So, in that thought process, we should be right under the name Hawaiian. In that thought process.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
But it's not that way.
No.
But
Dude,
I'm. You gotta understand the way we like to have the conversation is frank and open, because this is one forum where it's just us. Where
Right.
we can be, like I like to say, unapologetically black. Like we can speak frank. We can talk about what's going on, like the way they do around their own about us. Like, Popolo and all. We understand all that stuff, right? So when we get together, we want to have these conversations. We want to have frank, open, and honest conversations. Now we're not gonna blast you or something on here. It's so that we.
Oh, we gotta get a release, right?
It's for a vlog. It's not selling. We're not selling it.
Right, but are we posting it?
Maybe parts of it.
Right.
Maybe parts
So
of it.
let's get that release.
If you like one.
I would love one.
Okay.
Because again, I live here,
Uh-huh.
right? And again, if this is going to be blasted to the world, I'd like to look at it. Because again, yeah.
Oh. Okay. All right. So, the even that in and of itself, what you just stated, all right, there is a certain level of caution that you just presented.
Exactly.
Right. Because you live here.
Yes.
And because there is a desire to present a certain picture to the world, whether right, wrong, or indifferent.
Right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. So, and that's just because we're having an open and frank conversation. We don't know anyone to be like, we're talking about this person and that. We don't know anyone.
Exactly.
But yet, even our brother on this island feels that there's a certain, let me make sure before I even let you present this. And we're just talking about Hawaii in general. Like, we're not talking about anyone. We don't know anyone.
Right. But again, what is his name? Not Cornell West. Yeah, I think it's Cornell West. He was talking about that when he taught at, I think it was Princeton.
Yeah, he's at Princeton.
How when black staff get together, when we get in that room, when we have those beers, we have our conversation, right? Meaning, again, we, in the context of blackness, we have these conversations, right? We talk the way we talk. We take off that
mask,
right, and talk open and honestly with each other.
Because I understand what you understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, again, I live here, right? And again, I just want this to be understood that if you guys want to push this out to the internet, I'd like to see it before it gets pushed out.
Okay.
Because again, I know how editing works, and I want it to be known that, okay, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is how I'm presenting this shit.
So let's dig in then. All right.
Let's do it.
So then the next question comes with that thought, that understanding that we have in a cultural understanding that we have. So then the question then becomes, right? As we look around, we go and we're asking people about the islands. We're doing our research. We're speaking to different people on the islands. We're talking to the people in the cultural centers and all the academics and everything that they want to portray.
Right.
Then we look at the underbelly. All right. We look at the underbelly.
That's always been the case anywhere.
Right. So then we try and find out where we fit into that. Right. Now, technically speaking, we should be somewhere on the top, but we're not. When I say technically, I'm talking about the days of Kamehameha the First, before the land grab and before all that stuff.
Right.
We've been around.
Right.
But yet we're not seen as that. So then the question comes in, so what is our cultural disconnection that we're not able to pass that information down? Where do we fit into this culturally that we're not able to pass down this information? Who are we culturally? Maybe that has something to do with it, because we're unable to really pass it down.
That's a great point.
So my question would be, like, to you specifically, do you know, because at one point I didn't know either, but do you at any level or any layer have any knowledge of who we are prior to 1863?
You mean as in Hawaii?
Well, as in us. Because,
Black folks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again.
Because it would all, at some point, it has to all intersect,
but
right?
Here goes. And that's a great ass motherfucking question. And I remember moving to Minnesota, and I'd been doing a lot of reading, right? I think I just had a stack of books, and I remember there was at some point in my life I had to say, look, I got to know black folks, black people, where we came from, all these different aspects of blackness. So I consumed a lot of material. I don't know if you guys heard of the book called Brother Man.
By who?
It's a compilation. It's about 600-700 pages. It's got a bunch of black writers in there. Kevin Powell. You guys are familiar with Kevin Powell?
Most of the readings I did was on the they say W.E.B. the big ones.
Yeah,
W.E.B.
but he was in it. I mean,
what's the guy who did Brainwashed? Burrow. Burrell. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of Cornell. Again, anything I can get my hands on at some point in time, I try to consume, because, again, I think that's where the disconnect. I'm just talking about me, myself, black man.
Of course.
That I had to go back and re-educate myself. And again, it's a constant process of re-educating myself.
Absolutely.
Meaning, I don't know if you guys were, I was just looking at something on, God, it might have been a Reddit or something about there's this group, they're kind of, there's this company out there that started, and what they did, they went out and got a lot of black content creators, right? And they said they were going to pay them all this money. So these black content creators were creating all this content, and now they're not getting paid, and so on and so forth. I'm thinking,
are you talking about the record industry?
No. No. But you're absolutely right. Come on, man. I mean, come on. Meaning,
sounds familiar.
The work in which we put out and the compensation that we get, it's never there.
Sure.
Meaning, we are always underpaid, right?
Now, what do you think that's just a race thing, or?
I have no idea. I'm just that's my observation. Why it happens? If you go back historically, we've always been underappreciated, right? Our contributions to America has always been undervalued.
Sure.
Right? We've always been poached off of. We've always been just ideas and music and writing. Come on. I can't. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I'm going to tell you, it's comforting to a degree that you specifically, or I'm going to say you, are not so, it's not to insult you, but that are not so detached by living in a place like Lanai that, and I'm telling you, honestly.
I mean, here goes.
Because we've spoken to other folks who were literally detached themselves.
Here goes. You've got to be motherfucking kidding me if you think I'm going to come 3,000 miles and detach myself from black folks. That ain't going to happen.
What we say here is not a matter of you understanding that. It's more like the brothers and sisters here have fell into that unknowingly because of the aloha spirit. So while that has happened to them, they don't believe it's happened to them. So that's kind of what we're saying. But we don't necessarily see that in you. We will reach a lot of brothers and say, "Oh yeah, man, you know the black community, we thriving out here," and be like, "Where?" You know, like, and they, you know, we play dominoes, you know, with the, and then when we ask them to quantify, you know, that their attachment, they can't do it. They can't do it, but they can quantify their attachment with everybody else. Yeah. Everybody else. That's kind of what we're saying.
Well,
right?
I mean, again, that car was y'all's if you wouldn't take it, and you know, when we came down there and we saw you guys walk in, I'm like, y'all can take the car, right?
Now we felt that was genuine. That was genuine.
If that's not aloha spirit to black folk, look, my aloha is to people that look like me, right? And again, got love and aloha for everybody else, but first and foremost, look.
But you know, what's so interesting about what you just said is a lot of that is the point that, and you may not even see it, but you had to provide a disclaimer for everyone else about your love for them. There's nothing wrong with
what do you mean?
So you said when I want to provide my aloha to people that look like me, and then immediately follow upon that you said, but I still have love for everyone else. We're not gonna take you.
I'm just saying if it's again, when you're so far out in the Pacific, it's like, I love seeing black folks.
Yeah, I got you.
Right? I again, and when you said on Oahu,
not just Oahu, everywhere.
Well,
yep.
You're in Hawaii, detaching themselves.
Yeah. You're in the military, right? When you go through boot camp, right? When you go through boot camp, you're one way, and then when you get out of boot camp, you don't realize you've been trained to walk a specific way. When you get out the car, right, you're looking for your cover, right? But I need to cover myself, right? That stuff that's just been embedded in you, right? You don't understand that you're now different from everybody else in those aspects. You might walk on one side of the P way, right? Okay. You might, when you first get out, you might walk strong with your fist balled and things like that. Those are things that have changed because of the process that you went through. But unknowingly, you're now to your friends, you're almost alien, right? The jokes that they tell might be different, right? To you, the humor, the social construct that you now develop might be a little different, right? And it happened in 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever the process was. Now, Hawaii, brothers have been here for 10, 20, 30 years, right? And that process has been on them for years. So this is why the situation with Julian Hayward was allowed to happen, and the black community says nothing. Because they've been going through this process for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, but man, I got to say, I've always made an attempt to self-reflect.
You see that attempt in other brothers?
I can't speak for no other brothers out there, but I'm just saying, I got to look in that mirror and check myself. And again, because I have to go back when I go back to Georgia, South Carolina, I got to self-reflect on who I am and am I doing right by black folks? Right? Meaning, again, I did read the story about the gentleman on Oahu, but there wasn't much information out there about it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, I don't know no black folks on Maui. I don't know. I used to have a brother on there. Yes, I did. And again, when you're telling me about that kind of disconnect, yeah. But again, I don't know. I don't know.
One of the things that we found, because we spoke to several brothers on Maui as well. This was 2 years ago now, something like that. We met a brother that was doing woodwork, right? Purchased, rented the area, leased the area in this little shopping plaza, and he explained casually how the other people around him bullied him, in his business practices. And even while we was talking to him, another lady, a Chinese lady, came out the store and started leaf blowing all his stuff.
About
About the conditions or the mind state of the black man.
oh, they pick on black people outside here all the time, man. They pick on me all the time.
They pick on you?
Oh, they pick on me this morning, somebody pick on me there. The owner for the place knows that I make my stuff right. They cut out all the stuff in the morning.
Yep.
When there's nobody in the court, I will do it from 8 until 9. These people come in here and trying to go. When everybody is trying to silence them, telling me, I gotta stop making the noise. I gotta stop making my stuff here. I'm going like, get up there, black people. They plain out does not like black people. I always have a problem with them for 7 years I've been here. The same kind of problem. She wants to be the only one. And she feels she's better than black people. This video.
Got it. Right, you said 12 tribes, right? Those are Jews.
The 12 tribe? Yeah, because that's who I am.
Are we Jews?
They can't prove, we are the original Jews.
So,
we are the original Jews.
So the Bible was written by Jews. But today, when we think of Jew, we think of the Israeli man. And he just gets used to that. So to him, it's annoying to him, but it's like a casual thing.
It's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Right? So now and he's an older brother. This is how he's lived. And the story is like, yeah, I came here many years ago. My kids are back in the mainland. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of consistencies that we hear in all the stories.
Okay.
And it's not on you.
No.
Telling you.
Here goes. And I'm glad y'all have gone out and put in work to see this body of work, right? Because again, my reference is here.
Right.
Used to know some brothers that were in the military, but they don't live on Oahu anymore. Mm-hmm. Nobody on Maui that I know, brothers that I know. So again, the reference that you guys get from
the travel.
Traveling around and kind of having these interviews and talking, you get the bigger picture, you know. And I respect you gentlemen for doing that, man. I mean, putting in that work. But the question is,
it's important, and I'm gonna tell you why it's important. Because living in Hawaii, one of the main words after aloha that you hear is culture, right? Mm-hmm. Like understanding the culture of the island, the culture of the people. Well, as long as we've been here, mm-hmm. when we ask people that look like us about their culture, we are the only people that's missing, right? They don't know, and that's why my question was very specific. Mm-hmm. I said, what do you know prior to 1863, which was the year we were emancipated from slavery?
Okay.
Because all of our history, typically, that we're taught, right? It begins there. And then, if it begins there, then how do I now take that and then bring it to Hawaii so that I can have some sort of pride in myself, my culture?
Right.
Because you know what happens when I don't know my culture? Do you know, just logically, if I don't know my culture and I'm constantly being fed everyone else's culture, then what happens? I detach myself from my culture and I attach myself. That's natural.
Sure you do.
So that's what we've encountered.
Okay.
And so as we talk to brothers, we like to bring up these sorts of things just to see, where is the thought process on that? Do you consider that? Do you think about that? And then, as the conversation goes on, maybe we can interject a couple of things that we've kind of learned along the way. Right. And then it's, up to you, obviously, if whether you take it or leave it or whatever it is, but just insert some things.
And you guys just studying and research, is there books that you would recommend black folks read if they want to understand that at a deeper level?
Absolutely.
I mean, give me the list. I mean,
here's the thing.
I'd love to.
The thing is, if you approach it that way, then you'll be pigeonholed with academia. And here's why I say that.
Okay.
Because you gotta go through publishers, you gotta get, the distribution, mm-hmm. You've gotta go all this route, and the average, like, let's say you and I right now, let's say you got a wealth of knowledge about the island and this and that. Let's say we even wrote a book on this. that we have to be able to get. I know. I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're saying.
so
You're saying
boots
that
on the ground.
You're saying the challenge is to get information out there published. That in and of itself, it's a challenge to get that information out.
So what that means is the list of books that you can go pick up is going to be from a certain level, a certain layer that's going to really present the same things that you already know.
Yeah, but here goes. So with that being said, when I asked you that, Kevin, look, get this body of knowledge over, not the book, because I just referenced books. I say, hey, books.
Sure.
So if there is something out there that you think I would benefit from,
Absolutely.
by all means, give it to me.
Well, let's share.
Because isn't that what that's this
absolutely
conversation?
100% correct. 100% correct. Because, like I said, at the end of the conversation, we're hoping to insert some information. Right?
Let's hear it.
And a lot of the information that we use is sourced in a book that most of us have. You're coming from the South, which is known, I believe, in general terms as the Bible Belt. All right, you talk about that whole thing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I know it's not Lincoln yet. I know.
No, I'm just okay. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of times, when I ask, that's why I specifically asked prior to 1863, right? Because before 1863, most of our people don't know about the Moors in Spain, in Portugal, right? So then let's go back beyond that. How do we get that one source that most of our people, as Black people, have but don't recognize as a true historical source, is the Bible.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, a lot of the things, right? Because we know it to be a prophetic book, but a lot of times we don't recognize that the Bible was written thousands of years ago, right? So if it was written thousands of years ago, some of those prophecies that are in there must inevitably be history today.
Okay.
They have to be. So then we have to be able to look through some of those academic books and find out, okay, when did this happen in history? Oh, shoot, it happened in the 1600s. It happened in the 1400s. And then we're able to see where the Bible is true or is not. All right. So I'm going to share a couple of things with you.
Okay.
And then you can jump in as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the books of Moses to begin with.
Okay.
All right. Read Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Let's start there.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15.
Now, I'm going to assume, but I'm going to ask so that I'm not assuming something that's not true. You have a general knowledge of the Bible.
General knowledge.
You know who Moses is.
Yes.
You know, let my people go.
Yes.
You know, 10
Yes,
commandments
yes.
and laws.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So, so go ahead, start there. This is Moses. Right?
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So this is right after Moses has gone up to Mount Sinai. He's come down. He's talking to the people, right? And he's saying, and we jump to the middle of it because we're not going to be able to go through everything. We're going to jump through it. And this part right here, he has said, if you don't listen to God, that all these curses are going to come upon you, right? But the term curses is sometimes not well understood today because we don't use that term too much today. So you would say something more along the lines of a judgment or a punishment. Why? Because he's establishing a covenant or a contract with his people. Right? So these are the penalties for disobedience.
Right.
So if the Bible's a true book, right, and we know just through our Bible knowledge, right, did the people that received this information, did they obey God or disobey God? What do you think?
I don't know.
Okay, get Daniel 9 and 11.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
You hear that? So all, because remember who Moses was talking to.
Okay.
So they transgress means to break.
Right.
Finish it.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
So that's what we're reading. That's what we're reading. We're reading now. We're going to now look at a few of them, a few of the curses, because historically Israel did not keep the law of Moses. It's documented.
Okay.
Right? Read verse 15.
Verse 15.
I'm sorry, 16.
Yes,
Excuse me.
sir. Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Now we'll start with the field, right? Have black people ever historically been cursed in the fields?
You mean worked in the fields?
No, cursed in the
I-
fields,
you-
punished in the
judgment.
fields, judgment in the
Help
fields.
me.
Because because to be employed is one thing, but remember there was roughly 400 years where we were not employed for working in the cotton fields down in Georgia, in the
Okay.
tobacco fields in Carolinas, in the sugarcane fields in Louisiana. Right? We were not employed. We were slaves. That's
Okay.
No,
No.
You follow?
Right.
Okay. So it says, "Cursed shall thou be in the fields, in the city and in the fields." Now, again, part of what we were talking about and not being detached is also recognizing the condition of our people wherever they may be.
Right.
Right. So in Georgia, this is one of the things that you were saying that you had to get to your daughters to be able to say, "Hey, you're in America now." Right. There's going to be a very different relationship that you're gonna come across. Right?
Absolutely.
So, if I was to ask, where do I find the worst conditions, the worst schools, the worst housing, the most crime in, let's say, DC? Would it be a predominantly white area or predominantly black area? That's easy.
Well,
right?
yeah, I'm sure the data shows that it's in black neighborhoods.
Okay. If I was in Georgia and I wanted to go
Across the board. Across the board.
So
okay?
read that again.
Across the board.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed.
okay,
shalt
got
thou be in the
it.
field.
So again,
You're not catching it yet because I see you're trying to get ahead. You're not catching why we're going through it.
I'm just saying, when you're saying from the reading, cursed in the city, black neighborhoods, get it. Field, get it. Got that connection.
Okay.
Okay, walk me through the next. I'm just want to check in with you.
Verse 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given into another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
So here we have another
Okay, help me
curse,
out. Go.
right?
Help me out.
Your sons and your daughters being given to... You've seen Roots. You're of an age. You've seen
Yeah.
Roots, right? Alex Haley's Roots.
Yeah.
The scene when Kizzy was taken
Yes.
away.
Yes.
That's a child being taken away from their parents.
Okay.
Was there anything the parent can do?
No.
No. So we're proving judgments that have happened that would now be considered black history.
Okay.
And we've only looked at two things. And the reason why this is important because we don't know who we are. We don't know.
Okay.
Invariably. So, but everyone else knows. That has not happened to any other race of people. And I specifically say race as a collective.
Right.
Because most people will go, well, what about that one or that five? Or no.
Right.
As a race, we know this to be our history. All right. Read verse 48.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
No, I don't want that one. Give me 64.
64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So this is a curse that says now you're going to be scattered everywhere.
Okay.
Right? And in these different places that you're scattered, you're going to find that you're going to now begin to observe their gods, their customs, their rituals, that your fathers, right? Because if we're saying your ancestors, they knew nothing about this stuff.
Okay.
Right? But you, because you're being scattered, as a judgment, as a curse, as a punishment, part of that is you're going to lose your identity and heritage, and you're going to pick up from all the places where I'm sending you because of punishment. That's part of it.
Okay.
All right? So, keep where you at? Read verse 68.
Verse 68.
I'm sorry, before you get that, get Jeremiah 17:4 and then come back to 68. To just back up what we're saying to show that that was specifically stated in the Bible.
Wow.
Read that.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
So you hear that? So when he says you're going to discontinue, what does it mean to discontinue? It means to
Cut ties with.
Cut ties with.
Yeah.
But he says cut ties with what? Read it again.
And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
From my what?
Thine heritage that I gave thee.
We're the people that have been cut from a heritage. From a heritage. That's why my specific question was prior to 1863, who are we? Because most people would say, oh, we're African. Well, which ones? There's 55 countries in Africa. Well, which tribe? Even if you name a state, because that was cut up by the what was that? The Berlin Conference, right? So before that, we had to have an understanding of culture and identity, which has been lost from us. Now, my question is, let me link it before you ask your question, right? Who? 68, and then I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
And I want you to think about this as I'm gonna ask you the question now ahead of time. Who was Moses talking to?
I don't know. I mean, I wish I could answer these questions, but
you are able to clearly see how the things, the situation,
yeah, I mean,
the
seeing the
circumstances.
connections, but I don't know the answers to them.
Not
so
a problem.
ask me the answers. I'm like,
I just want you to think about it.
right.
I'm gonna fill it in. I'm not gonna leave you. Trust me. Go ahead, read.
Okay, gotcha.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1.
No. I want 68 first.
Verse 68. Okay.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So remember, Moses had to go to Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." Right. So obviously, what were the conditions of the people that he's going to the king to say, "Let us go"? What do you think the conditions were of his people? They were in slavery. Get 20 and 2. Read that.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
So Egypt is just a Greek word that means bondage.
Okay.
Right? Go back to 68 now that we understand what it means.
Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt.
Bondage, again, come on.
Again with ships.
Who has gone into bondage by way of ship?
Us.
Who else?
Couldn't tell you.
No one else. So,
Well, so us.
Yes.
Right. So there's nobody else. Okay.
so
sorry.
now, finish it out, and then we're gonna tie it all together.
Okay.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
Exactly as he said it was gonna happen, it happened, and we've never seen our homeland again. Read.
And there,
Once you get off those slave ships,
ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
that's Black history, right? That's clearly Black history. Now read 1 and 1. Let's figure out who is the audience, because today they're not going to be called the same names as they were during this time.
Right.
So what we're going to find out is what is the God-given name of those people that we've just identified through the curses. All right, read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Who did he talk to?
Unto all Israel.
So Moses was talking to a specific group of people during that time who was known as Israel.
Yeah.
They were known as the children of Israel, right? And a lot of times, and especially when you talk to, especially people in the South, I know, and they got the Gullah Geechee people down in Georgia as well, but they have some idea of that. They've kind of heard it, but they don't understand how it really directly connects to us. Right. And what we're showing is that is our history. Those are some of the things that have happened to us that we can clearly know as Black people. Right, but we've not been told that, we've not been taught that. We were told there's 13 denominations of churches here. None of them are going to teach that. Not one. Not one. Exactly. But we're reading out of the same book. Right?
Yes.
So the question then becomes, why aren't we told that? Why don't we know who we are? It's because God designed it that way because our ancestors sinned. But now today, right, there are now prophecies in the Bible, which we're not going to go through, but there's now prophecies in the Bible where it says, I'm going to pour out my spirit in the last days, right? And that pouring out of the spirit is you being able to now see that and go, oh, shoot, that does relate to me. Right. Guess what that means? Okay. If you can understand that, the Lord is dealing with your spirit at some level so that you can understand, because some people can read that and be like, I don't see it. How can you not see that?
Okay.
How can you not understand that? So
How they're not connecting the dots, meaning the dots.
because we've never been trained to
Okay.
connect the dots. In Christian church, we've never been trained. In school, we've never been trained. That's why I said when you asked me about what books, I said you're still gonna be left at some point.
No, I'm asking you that in conversation, right? I mean, again, I'm asking you.
Sure.
If you got knowledge, because I'm assuming that black folks got knowledge we want to share, right?
Absolutely.
So again, I'm asking you what you got that I can read.
Absolutely.
I can consume.
Yeah.
Right? So that was my question. I wasn't talking about academic books. I was talking about what knowledge do you gentlemen have that you want to share with me?
Well, usually people are, and that you've proven to be different than a lot of the brothers that we've spoken with, right?
What you
You've
mean?
proven to be different. Well, just in the way that you've engaged us, first of all,
In a good way.
Yeah,
In a good way.
right. You're
I'm hungry to know this.
No,
information.
that's the
people is
point.
not. That's the difference.
That's the
Right?
point.
I mean-
That's the point.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're even engaging says that there's a different spirit about you. All right.
Well,
So
I'm gonna go open that up for myself after this. And
yes, see it for yourself. Absolutely. So
Not see it for myself, meaning you guys have pointed me in a direction that I need to go
just check it out.
consume that
Yeah.
that information.
Research
I mean,
it. Research it.
So you mean you had blowback or?
Absolutely. Yeah, just think about it. This is 8-10 brothers here, right?
Right.
You're the only one here. We've been doing the same conversation we had with you, same texting, other brothers around here. Nothing. Where they at? Are they hungry? Right. There's not even a direct interaction that we can have with them, and that's not even abnormal.
All right.
It's not even abnormal for brothers to say, "Hey, do you have any idea who we are before the emancipation?" I mean, kings,
Right.
Egypt.
Come on.
Yeah.
No,
Here
no.
goes. I'm just saying this from me, this black brother sitting here. Look, I don't know everything, right? I mean, I'm hungry to engage and have dialogue and conversation. And again, it's piqued my interest, right? So for y'all to sit down and spend your time having this conversation, I appreciate that, right? I mean, again, you saying y'all get blowback from people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on, man. I mean, I'm not saying come on now that I don't believe that. I'm like, wow, that's disheartening.
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
I mean-
that's a perfect word for it, because now give me Acts 3:19, because give me Deuteronomy 10 and then Acts 3. The reason why it's disheartening, and we're gonna wrap it
No,
up.
because mama needs a car.
Not a problem. We're
Okay.
gonna wrap it up. 5 minutes. We'll get out of here. But the reason why it's disheartening is because when you can come to that understanding of that history, now you've got some answers to your whys. You've got some answers.
Absolutely.
You've got some answers, and even if you're not 100% sure, it's a direction that we've never really explored before. So maybe I should explore it and see,
Of course.
is there any merit to it,
Why
right?
would you not?
Right, now watch this. Read that for me. Yeah, read that first.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee?
Because then that becomes the next question. So if you're saying we're Israel, okay, if you're saying we're the children of Israel, so then what does that mean? What does God require of me
Right.
then, right? What does that mean? Read that.
But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
So he's saying, look, to love God is to serve him, to keep his commandments. And by the way, they're for your good. By the way, they're for your good. They're to help you along navigate this. You've heard that acronym, basic instructions before leaving Earth. Have you ever heard that before? Like they've said, okay. Well, this just people have kind of
Say it one more time.
Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now I make the connection.
Yes. So it's instructions on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves in life as the children of Israel, right? Because that's who Moses was talking to. And he documented it for us for these last days.
Wow.
And so now, as we now begin to understand it.
I mean, meaning it's like it's coming at me, right? I'm
Sure.
trying to process it.
No,
And it's I'm gonna have to,
digest it.
yeah, and just kind of look at it like
Absolutely.
a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Absolutely.
10 times to kind of let it marinate.
Absolutely.
I gotta let it marinate.
100% get it. So and you're supposed to do that. All right, but read that what you have.
Well,
Acts 3, right? Because these are the things that we've not been shown, not been taught, and if you find out, because remember it said all Israel have sinned and transgressed thy law, therefore the curses are poured out upon us. So if you then begin to find out, okay, so the reason why our neighborhoods on the mainland, right, our neighborhoods are the way they are is because we sinned against our God. The reason why we're the last hire first fired is because we sinned against our God. The reason why we have single parent households in our neighborhoods is because we sinned against our God. The reason why things are hard for us and we are so few scattered around the earth is because we disobeyed our God. What would be a solution?
Tell me.
Listen to our God.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Watch it. Read.
I got you.
Read.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 19.
Come on.
Repent ye therefore, and be converted.
So, what does it mean to convert?
Whatever it means to convert.
Yeah, just the word, conversion. Convert. What does it mean?
Switch over to.
Yes. Change over.
Yeah.
So, but the word that the Bible used is repent. It means the same thing.
Yeah.
It means the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what he's calling for his children to do once you come back. Like, because we've been punished. We lost all of everything. Right. And now as we're beginning to come back, now here we got brothers here now that are reading the Bible and saying, oh shoot, that's us. Right? And then I'm sharing it with you. And now you go, oh shoot, I need to look into that. Right? And if you find that it's you and you agree with it, then the next thing for you to do would be to change over.
Right.
And then to pass it on.
Okay.
Because then people around be like, hey, I noticed that this brother is no longer doing X, Y, and Z. I don't know what I'm just saying. This brother has changed in some way. Yeah. He's now doing something different. Hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Hey, here's one of the things. I'm just give you a simple one, right? You're already doing it. You don't even know it. You have a beard on your face. You didn't know that was a commandment for the men of Israel?
Did everybody else here? No, I didn't.
But you're already keeping that law.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Let me just show you real quick. Leviticus 19. Read that.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 27. Ye shall not round the corners of your head, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard.
So it says
round the corners of your head?
Yeah, so doing the Michael Jordan look
is
not what an Israelite man is supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So hang on to what you got.
Hang on to what you got.
Okay.
All right.
Got
the
it.
styling is fine, but you can't do the Michael Jordan look. All right. And I know, like, since we've been talking about military, we meet a lot of brothers in the military that have that look, right? And so when
you mean
bald head.
Yeah.
So, when we begin to tell them, now we get to a place where it's like, okay, I'm cool with everything you're saying until we start to get into the specifics of that change. Then it becomes, well, I don't know if I really want to do that.
Right.
So now we get into that process. Well, when you say now I don't know if I really want to do that, you're saying I'm accepting of the punishments and the way the things are around me. It's just easy math. 1 + 1 is 2.
For me and my people.
For me and my people.
Right.
So here we are now, as we travel around the islands, it's eye opening. But at the same time, when we see a brother or a sister that's here, we want to make that connection because you're in the same state as us. We just live. Yeah, we're just on Oahu. We're not like, it's not like we're in Texas.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if a brother or a sister's like, hey, I want to learn more, we're right here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So
y'all got folks on Maui or no?
He moved off of Maui because it's hard to survive by yourself on an island.
But well, listen, gentlemen, I gotta return this.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, we're gonna leave this with you so you can actually do some of the more investigating and researching for yourself.
Wow.
The rabbit hole gets deep. You know what I mean? And it's with a book that we all have. Most of us have in our homes already that we've grown up with, but we've never actually been taught.
Kind of dig down deep.
Yeah, because we,
dig down through the layers.
Christianity as a religion. Because remember, we're not talking about religion.
Right.
If you paid attention, and we've never once said Christianity to you, right? Because we're talking about the history and the records of one group of people.
Wow.
Right, and so. It starts here, and hopefully you check it out and learn more because we've learned everything American. We've gone to.
Oh, this contact number?
Should be on the.
Yep,
Yes,
it's down in the
this
back,
one.
right? That'll reach us internationally and locally.
You guys on Facebook, huh?
Yep, and same thing here. I think different levels of social media as well. So,
Oh, shoot, now I gotta...
email address, all that.
All right, Shalom Israel, Most High Christ bless. So we had an opportunity today to actually sit down with the brother. All right, I think we kind of told you before that we met a handful of Israelites here. As we said earlier, there's literally, we met 5 different tribes. I think those might have been the only 5 Israelites that we ran into, but Simeon, Issachar, Ephraim, Judah, and Zebulun. All right, they're all out here, not in great numbers. And so one of the things that you'll realize about being in Hawaii is because they're so isolated, there is a very real fear of being ostracized or separated from the community. We spoke with a brother at length today, and one of his main concerns was whether or not, what was said could put him in a certain light with the local community. So, we have to approach things, try and use wisdom and how we deal to be able to engage our brothers and sisters that are scattered in the islands, because there's so few of them. But one of the things that we really come to see is a lot of times our people have adopted the customs and cultures of Hawaii, which is not our own. And through the process of time, they have lost their identity completely, right? They don't even recognize the fact that they've lost it, and it just happens through the process of time. That was one of the tactics that was used against our people during the time of the Greeks, right? For instance, get First Maccabees, 40?
Gotcha.
Yeah, read that.
First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
So what we see here is that in consenting to his religion, which in effect is democracy, well, we're going to change that term when we come to Hawaii and say that's aloha spirit. All right, that's the aloha spirit, where it's portrayed that everyone loves everyone and everything is all good. But what tends to happen is over time, you have basically assimilated, you have accepted your position in the social stratification or the social power structure of the community. You've just come to accept that, and then through the process of time, you just believe that's normal and that's good and that's the way life is. Well, the end result is you completely disconnecting, completely disassociated from your people, unknown to yourself, right? The brother that we spoke with, he was very, he was very engaged, which is something that was even surprising for us. But at the same time, he was very cautious about the way things may be portrayed. And he said that more than one time, I got to live here, right? So you got to make sure that whatever's put out there, that it doesn't make life hard for me here. Why? Because there's only a handful of them on this island, which means it'd be very easy to be bullied and in effect excommunicado from the local community. So these are some of the things that we see, some of the things that we notice in traveling all the islands. This now here on the island of Lanai is the 6th island that we've touched, that IUIC has had boots on the ground, and we've been able to deal with the local community as well as gather history and filtering all the things that were told and the stories and just the general knowledge and the oral traditions, all that stuff. We now have been able to gather it and filter it through the scriptures. And one of the things that is very clear is we, the children of Israel, are scattered amongst the people of the islands. But the people of the islands in the indigenous sense, the original inhabitants, they were not the children of Israel in the beginning. All right, they have been colonized by the white man, by Esau. He's used that tactic the world over. Remember, the edict that came out from the Catholic Church was to subdue all the dark races, including the Polynesians, including the Hawaiians. And they did that to the fullest extent. Sugar plantations, pineapple plantations, they did that all over. This island in particular still has an old world feel of plantation life. All right, one owner of the island, one main company, one main store, one main gas station, one main car rental. Like everything is just one, right? And it's all owned by the owner of the island. So these are the things that we're able to pull out. And that's why it's important for us, all praise to the Most High, that he allowed us to be able to travel to all the islands so that we can educate our people as we speak to them and also know what they deal with on these different islands, because each one is a little bit different, but the underthread, the undercurrent is still the same. So we pray that the brother was able to receive the scriptures that was brought out to him, because that's the main intent, is to sow the seeds. All right, and that's what we did. We met some folks that didn't have much knowledge of it, but they got flyers in hands. All right, it wasn't a lot, but the work is being done. All praise to the Most High God, and definitely give honors to the elders and bishops that have been doing it before us, that woke us up, that we continue to spread that same knowledge, that same information through the Spirit of the Lord. All right. So with that, hopefully you enjoyed this documentary and the information that comes out, and hopefully some of these brothers and sisters that are here on the island of Lanai are ready to do some more research for themselves and reach out to Israel United in Christ in Hawaii. All right. So with that, say shalom.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family.